Please make sure that you all mute yourself. Okay, thank you. So first we'll see about what is learning difficulties. So learning difficulty is actually an umbrella term for academic problems of different origin. So like it comprises of general learning deficits, low academic performance, or it can be any other difficulties related to writing, listening, reading, speaking, or do even solving problems, right? So learning difficulty actually look very different from one child to another. Like you cannot be expecting that the neighbor's child is having this kind of difficulty. So why my child is facing some difficulties in doing maths? It's absolutely normal that every child will be having different types of learning difficulties in their different severity. So actually, one child may struggle with reading or spelling, but others may be like they may be very interested in reading the books, and some may also find difficulty in understanding what others are saying or communicating out loud. So the problems are very different, but the concept is these are all learning difficulties. No matter if your child is having writing issue, reading issue, or even understanding the sounds, these all comes under the topic of learning difficulties. We'll just go through a very brief description of what is the difference between learning disability and learning disorder. So currently we were talking about what is learning difficulty. Now we'll just briefly go through what is learning disability and learning disorder. So basically learning disability is something related to the field of special education, like something related to handicap. So here the child will be having learning difficulty due to any other physical condition, like if the hand is fractured or the child is having any low eye vision. So these things may affect their learning process, right?
Shilpa,
Yes.
is the slide changing?
Yes, I am changing it.
But it's in the first slide. Can you please check?
Okay, okay, just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Is it changing now? Okay. Just a minute. Here I'm like, okay. Okay, so as we were talking about the learning disability and learning disorder. So now learning disorder is something when your child has a higher severity or the child is being affected with grasping a particular concept even after teaching them multiple times. So the disorder, when it comes to a learning disorder, the severity of the symptoms will be very different. Now moving on to just a minute. Okay. So now moving on to common types of learning difficulties. So usually learning difficulties are often grouped by school area skill set, right? So usually our group of children will be school going. So we categorize them on the type of school skill set. So usually if our child is in school, the types of learning difficulty that are most usually we hear about will be about reading, writing and maths. So we have put them all together into a scientific name. So those will be like dyslexia, dysgraphia, and dyscalculia. So we'll be just briefing about all these types of learning difficulties in the coming slides actually. So we'll be going through some of the symptoms of, I don't know why the slide is not changing. Uh, is it for everyone that the slide is not changing?
Yes, Shilpa, it is not changing. The
Okay.
audience window, please keep it maximized. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so here are some of the following checklists to offer some of the common red flags in learning difficulties. Like what all the things you should keep in your mind when you are taking care of or when you try to understand about learning difficulties. So the first one will be like difficulty telling from left to right or reversing letters, words or numbers, or even if the child is in the first grade or second grade. And then it will be like difficulties recognizing the patterns or sorting items by size or shape. Then difficulty understanding and following instructions or staying organized. Child will be very hard to be managed, like asking him to organize something or giving him instructions and he won't be obeying. It is not because he don't want to obey, but he is not able to do that. And then difficulty remembering what was just said or what was just read. And some of the other common things which we can find in learning difficulty children are they will be lacking coordination when they move around, like difficulty doing tasks with the hands, like writing, cutting, or drawing. But do you think that all the time when a child is showing these kind of symptoms, is it like all the children are having learning difficulty? No, right? So like we should always remember that children who don't have learning difficulties also may still experience some of these difficulties at various times. Even if we are taking our own past also, like some will be interested in maths, some may not be, right? So the when we should be concerned about this particular issue. So the time for concern is when there is a consistent unevenness in your child's ability to master certain skills. Like he's really trying so hard to attain that particular topic, but he or she is not able to do that. So that is when you should be concerned about your child's learning difficulties. And another important thing to remember is that most of the kids with learning difficulties are just smart as everyone. Just because your child lacks a little bit of knowledge or a little bit of grasping power in a particular subject doesn't mean your child is not, like, child cannot be smart or your child cannot excel in other particular things. And they just need to be taught in a different way. They should be tailored by a unique learning style. So by learning more about learning difficulties in general and your child's learning difficulties in particular, we can actually help and pave a way for their success and school beyond. And now we'll be talking about dyslexia. So there are 10. Okay, so now we are talking about dyslexia. We are having 10 warning signs. Okay, so I think you will be able to see that on the screen. We'll just go through the randomly, we'll just go through the warning signs. So the child will be having words like difficulty in identifying or reading the words order. So dyslexia is most commonly associated with the trouble to read actually. The child will be finding the letters will be jumbled. So it affects a child's ability to recognize and manipulate the sounds in language. Like kids with dyslexia will have a hard time decoding new words. They'll not be easy to grasp a new word if you are giving them like a big set of whole paragraph or even a new small sentences. And the most common thing with kids in dyslexia are they won't be able to decode the words and also to break them down into manageable chunks. For example, if we are teaching a child aeroplane, we will be splitting into half, right? We will be showing them how the tongue should be twisted, how the tongue should be folded, and how the sound should be produced, right? So it will be like aero plus plane, but the child won't be able to understand this differentiation of two different sounds. And this causes a difficulty in reading, writing, and spelling. So they may have to compensate this by memorizing word, right? But again, they will be having troubles in recognizing new words. So there are two types of learning difficulties actually. So the first one will be basic reading problems that occur when there is a difficulty in understanding the relationship between sound, letters, and words. For example, if I am telling the word or if you are telling your child the word apple, the child may not be able to recognize the sound apple and the letters associated with it and how the words are put together. A normal child should understand that APPLE forms a word apple, but the child with dyslexia may know the spelling, okay, these are the letters in the word apple, but he may not be knowing how to put it in order to form the sound. So again, reading comprehension is another type of dyslexic behavior or dyslexic pattern. So here the child will face an inability to grasp the meanings of words. So later we discuss the child will not be able to understand the sound or the letters of a particular word. Here the child will not be able to understand the meaning of the word. So which means if I'm telling apple, the child may not be understand what is an apple, or he may not be understanding what is that particular fruit. So that is the difference between reading comprehension and other reading difficulties. So some of the common learning difficulties or reading difficulty problems are letter and word recognition. So a dyslexic child may not be able to understand letters and word, and understanding the words and ideas. Reading speed and fluency will be comparatively very less to other age group children. Then general vocabulary, like a child of first standard is expected to know the spelling of apple, right? But what if a child, after teaching them multiple times, is not able to recall that? So there is a concern that you should address. And then some of the other symptoms will be struggling and learning with even simple rhymes. LKG or pre-kindergarten and all, you will be having small rhymes, but the child may not be able to recall that or to remember those things. And speech delay. Speech delay is something you should be concerned if your child is after 4 or 5 years, but still finding it hard to pronounce some certain sound. And or omit short words. Someone is on
If I'm in
unmute.
the same slide, dyslexia.
Yeah, I'm still in the same slide.
Okay.
Okay. So repeat or omit words such as an and or but, or finding it very difficult to tell from left to right. So these are some of the common warnings or some of the common signs and symptoms of dyslexic child. Now we'll see what is the other. So as in conclusion, we can tell dyslexia is something related to difficulty in reading or understanding the words or understanding the alphabets. Now we'll talk about dysgraphia. So, so dysgraphia is something related to the writing patterns. So it is a difficulty turning their thoughts into written language for their age and ability to think despite exposure to adequate instruction and education. So learning difficulties in writing actually can involve the physical act of writing, right? So the child may be finding it difficult to comprehend the information we are saying. Like we'll be telling something, and if we are asking him to write it down, the child may find it very difficult to complete a single word or sentence. So basic writing disorder usually refers to a physical difficulty forming words and letters. And also expressive writing difficulty also indicates a struggle to organize thoughts on paper. The child may be perfectly fine in elaborating the things through a speaking, but he may not be able to put it on paper. He may find the letters are jumbled, or if you write the letter A, it may go the opposite direction. So some of the symptoms of the written language or dysgraphia will be that neatness and consistency. If you are giving them a ruled book, the child may not be able to keep that line consistent. It will be up and down. The letters will be, one will be a little bit high, the others will be a little bit low. So there won't be much neatness or consistency in the write, or the child may find it very difficult to accurately copy the letters. We know that small children will be having the worksheet books, right? Like for teaching them the alphabets and all. So if you're showing the letter A child should be able to copy it down. But a child with dysgraphia find it very difficult to even copy the letters accurately. This also is a matter of age. You cannot expect a child of 3 or 4 years to exactly copy the same. But if the child is above 5 years, you should definitely take it as a concern and something you should address it to your psychologist or to a general physician. Now, spelling consistency. The child may be very unfamiliar with all the words, all the spellings. He may not be even able to write his or her own name properly without a spelling mistake. Then letter formation or legibility is again another sign of dysgraphia. Fine motor coordination. So one of the main reason why the child is finding it difficult to write will be the fine motor coordination. So what is fine motor coordination? Like if you notice, the children with dysgraphia will hold the pen or pencil a little bit different than the other children. They'll not be having this proper hold of their fingers to hold it tight, or they will not be having that flexibility of the hand to move the fingers according to the letters. And the other one will be rate and speed of writing, grammar, composition, or difficulties writing in a straight line or in a blank paper. Difficulty or holding, controlling a writing tool. Writing letters in reverse can be extremely difficult for children with dysgraphia. and then having trouble to recall how letters are formed, how to write the caps letter or small letter. So these kind of things usually comes under children with dysgraphia. And some of the other symptoms which we can feel like omitting words from the sentence. For example, if I am asking the child to write, my name is this, the child may not be able to write the full sentence properly. He'll be omitting the words like name or my. So the sentence will be incomplete. The child will, whenever the child with dysgraphia write a sentence, it will be always incomplete. He or she may omit lot of words or lot of sentences in a particular paragraph. Incorrectly ordering the words. As we told the example of apple, the child he know the spelling apple apple, but when he writes, maybe the L will comes in the first or L will go the opposite side. The L writing, the shape will go different. So these kind of things are associated with dysgraphic children. Now we'll see about, so again, just concluding it in one word. So dysgraphia is something related. The child find a difficulty in writing the words or putting the expressive thoughts into a paper. So the difficulty in writing is called dysgraphia. Now we'll go to dyscalculia. So dyscalculia is difficulties related to mathematical calculations. So this is some of a very confusing part actually, because maths is something most of the children may not be liking or may not be interested to. So we cannot just label a child with dyscalculia just because a child is very weak in math. For this particular thing, we also need a proper assessment, because usually most of the children may not be fond of subject maths. But what are the features that make a child dyscalculia? So that is what we are going to look at. So learning difficulties in math actually depend on the child's other strength and weakness, right? So a child's ability to do math will be like affected differently by other language disability or visual disorder or any other difficulty with sequencing or memory or in any other organization. So for example, if I'm telling a child with dyscalculia may find it very difficult to do the memorization or arrange the numbers or understanding the difference between the symbols, plus, minus, subtraction, these kind of things the child may find very difficult. Like, for example, 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. This is a fact and this is something we all know. But the child may not be able to understand that number 5 plus 5 gives 10. Like, no matter how many times you try teaching them, they'll not be able to understand that the plus symbol in middle of 2, 5 is an addition symbol, which you're mean to add those numbers and give the total sum. Or 5 into 5, 5 multiplied by 5 is equal to 25. This also the child may not be able to understand, because for the child that multiplication sign doesn't mean anything. The child is not able to understand that is a multiplication sign where you have to multiply two numbers. And the children with math learning difficulty might find troubles with counting principles. Like, we'll be having multiplication tables, right? So we have a certain tone or we have a certain pattern starting from the beginning to the end to help the children recall or to memorize these things. So this is actually pretty hard for the child. He may not find it easy to do, or he may not find it very appealing to go through all those mathematics things. So basically, dyscalculia is something the child finds difficulty in arithmetics or mathematic calculation. Some of the symptoms will be poor mathematical ability, spelling difficulty, direction and time difficulty. Like, he may not be able to understand what o'clock is, what time is this. He may not be able to look at a proper normal number clock, and he may not be able to recognize what time of the day is this. And poor listening skills will be there. Then difficulty in understanding even the smallest part of fractions, right? Fractions are most easy part, but the child will not be able to understand the fractions. Then difficulty in sequencing the events, difficulty recognizing patterns. If you are giving the child a different sets of shapes, like let it be a circle, rectangle, square or triangle, whatever, the child may not be able to identify what is this particular shapes. And then poor posture, or may always be feeling fatigue whenever he or she is into numbers. So this is basically about dyscalculia. Now we'll be seeing about what are the like when should be worried about learning difficulties. So it can be actually tough as a parent, right? So as a parent, when you understand that your child is having learning difficulty, it can be really tough for you. Like no parents would love to see their child suffer. Like you may wonder what it could mean. So you may wonder what it could mean for your child's future, or worry about how they will make it through school, right? Like it's all our every parent's thoughts. But perhaps you're concentrated by that calling attention to your child's learning problem. They might be labeled as slow learner. Like if you're going to a classroom and or for a parents meeting, if the child is a bit having a learning difficulty, usually the teachers will be labeling them as a slow learners, and this is not something you would love to hear from a parents teacher meeting. So what can you do from your side to help your child with learning difficulties? So the first one will be talk to your child's teachers. Make an appointment with your child teacher. Don't wait until for the parent teacher meeting or a parent teacher interview. You can book an appointment with your child's class teacher or any mentor. So then when you talk with your teacher, you should always ask whether your child is progressing as expected with reading, writing, or even doing maths, or how your child is going at school. More generally, like are they happy, are they confident, are they engaged, or are they doing their homeworks properly, are they being attentive? All these things you should get a proper idea or a proper observation from your the child's teacher's perception or the teacher's observation. So teacher or the support staff can assess your child for difficulties with reading, writing, maths, and you can go through the results of that. So this, from the school side, you will get a proper analysis of how your child is doing things at school. So that partial half of the okay. So the rest half you can do it from your home. So this can help you see if whether there's a problem with the child. Now the second one will be always consult your general physician or a pediatrician. So make an appointment to your general physician as soon as possible if you find the child's unevenness or if you notice a certain ups and downs in your child's learning pattern and progress. So your general physician might refer you to another health professional like a psychologist or a speech pathologist or an audiologist for further assessment and test. So these professionals can help you work out whether there are other things that are making it hard for your child to learn. Like, for example, if I'm telling problems with language development or attention issues, hyperactivity, these kind of things actually need a proper guidance. This can also be a part of why your child is not able to focus on their studies. So you should always understand the root cause why your child is facing learning difficulty. Now, the next will be like ask for school-based skill program. So if your child is being identified as behind in reading, writing, or doing maths, talk to your child's teacher about an additional literacy or numeracy programs like Abacus and all I think are available now. So these programs might include one-on-one or a small group with a learning support officer. So these kind of programs are also known as pull-in program. So it will be a normal classroom setting, but an extra hour will be spent with children who are slow learners. So the teacher and also a special educator or a psychologist who is trained in this kind of dyslexia or learning difficulties may assist the teacher along with the helping them in all the doing the daily homeworks, or like it's basically like coordinating them for better. So this kind of support can also help your child to learn the concept and practice skills at a pace that suits them. So in a normal class of 35 or 40, you cannot expect the class teacher of a child to be waiting for your child to learn all the concept and then move further, right? That is practically not possible. The help a teacher from a classroom can do is maybe give a extra time for the child, like extra time for slow learners, sit with them, sit with their parents, help them to learn a little bit more, help them to be in their own pace rather than pushing them so hard and making the child so stressed about like they are lagging between all the other students. Now, ask for formal learning difficulty assessment. Assessments are one of the most and major important thing to keep in your mind before we analyze or before we label the child as someone with learning difficulty. As I also told before, just because a child is lacking a little bit of grasping power or child is not interested in doing something doesn't mean that the child is having learning difficulty. It should be there should be a proper unevenness in their learning patterns and learning progress to understand or to identify them as learning difficulty child. So if your child has done additional programs at school but still seems to be struggling with reading, writing, maths, you can ask the school to arrange a formal assessment for a learning disorder by a psychologist or a pediatrician, or even if you can take them to a proper guidance mentored programs, they also will help you a lot in providing a proper assessment for your child. Assessments are widely available for all type of learning difficulty. Let it be dyslexia, let it be dysgraphia, dyscalculia, ADHD, hyperactivity, whatever. Assessments are the basic things you should do, and then comes all the rest of the solutions, rest of the tips, and rest of the things to help your child out of this. Now we'll just see some of the tips you can do at your home to help the child with learning difficulties. So dysgraphia. So as I told, dysgraphia is difficulty in writing. So change the writing tool or instrument your child uses. What is this writing tool or instrument? So if your child is not able to use a pencil properly, it may be because the pencil is having a very smooth surface. The child may not be able to hold the grip. So try something with a little bit more hard surface. Let it be a pen with proper gripping, or even you can tie multiple rubber bands over the pencil so that the child get a proper hold of the pencil. Now teach your child to type effectively using a computer keyboard. Computer keyboards are good options for a child with dysgraphia. This is because keyboards are interesting for children. They'll be interested in typing these things. So multiple times they will be focusing on the letters. So this will give them a basic idea regarding how the letters look like. So they themselves will feel interested in knowing what or how this letter looks like. So when you're asking them to write it down, they will get a basic idea on how to put it on paper. Now introduce your child to gross motor skill exercises. Gross motor skill exercises can be like making them to write in the sand. So sand is a little bit hard surface. You can make them write on that so that their finger dexterity also improves. Now dyscalculia. So dyscalculia is like difficulty related to doing mathematical problems or solving maths. So easiest way you can help them teach maths is to play with dominoes. Pizza is something most of the child loves. So you can buy a pizza, you can cut them the different slices, you can bring it up as a fraction. You can teach them using Domino's pizza or any other food items, or cutting cakes into equal parts, sharing it with the siblings, and now asking them how much is this, now how much parts are left. Now resist using worksheet. So using worksheets doesn't mean that you don't have to ask your child to use worksheet. All that means is try a different method to use worksheets. How will a child love doing worksheet for multiple times if he's not interested in doing that, right? So try to bring more creative way when you are asking him to do a worksheet. Ask him to do a little bit more with colored pencils or crayons or any kind of colors, whatever he likes. It can be anything related to his favors, like let it be a watercolor, let it be a pencil, or let it be a crayons, whatever. So whenever you're asking him to do the worksheet, ask him to color this the answers with a particular numbers. So if you're asking him to multiply something, Let the multiplication be in a different shade. Let the answer or the product of that multiplication be in another shade, whatever he likes. So this color combination will help him memorize the what he is doing or whatever he is learning or whatever he is trying to write it down. Now, dyslexia. Dyslexia is the difficulty in reading. So children who are dyslexic, they like the parents can sit together and read together. Reading is very good to improve the dyslexic students' reading skills. So sit with your child, read together, help him improve his reading skills. Even though if it takes a lot of time, spend time with your child. Let him read it slowly. Let him make mistake, like you correct it, and then slowly you can overcome that dyslexic pattern to an extent, but not fully if the severity is high. Create a calendar to help them track their progresses or tasks. So just make a normal calendar or any printable calendars from Google so that you can just make some notes like Monday, if the child is reading this particular paragraph without any mistake, or the other day, how much the child is improving. Is he improving from reading one paragraph without any mistakes to continuing it to 2 paragraph or 3 paragraph? So this is how you keep an account of how the child is progressing, and this also gives him a reinforcement. So these are the basic things to be known about learning difficulty. So just concluding it in a very small way. We already talked about what is learning difficulty, what are the types of learning difficulty. So commonly we have 3 types of learning difficulties. The first one will be dyslexia, which is the difficulty in reading, dysgraphia, the difficulty in writing, and dyscalculia, the difficulty in doing mathematics. So other than that, we also learn the symptoms of these kind of any other ADHD or hyperactivity. Those kind of things also may get associated with the learning difficulty of the child. We went through the learning difficulties of the child also, and how are the simple steps you can initiate from your side as a parent to help your child. Now, I'll be sharing a Google form assessment with you. You can just fill that form. I'll just share it once. I'll share that in the Google chat box. Please do fill the form so that we also get an idea regarding how your child is doing. Okay. I have posted the link in the chat box. Everyone can open that. And so, okay. Okay, so you can fill the form, and as I told before, you should always keep a track of your child's learning progress. So this helps you get an outlook on the difficulties a child is facing, the severity he or she is going through. And I have always mentioned before, the first step is to get an assessment done. Cring can help you get an assessment for your child and to help them further if your child has learning difficulties. Our team is excellent in providing children with learning difficulties like reading, writing, or doing mathematics. If you need any help from our side, we are really happy to help you and your child for the professional guidance. So I would ask everybody to fill the form so that, okay, someone has raised the hand. Okay, just a minute, I'm a tuition teacher. Okay, the question from Shalini is, ma'am, I'm a tuition teacher. I have a child who is studying in 4th standard. She's having difficulty in identifying the letter B and D. She's not able to study question and answer. She takes too much time to study. Does she have any learning difficulty? Since you mentioned that she's having difficulty in identifying the letter B and D, this can be the learning difficulty due to dysgraphia, because B and D look similar, right? If you write the D, then the opposite side, it may looks B. And if you write B, the opposite looks D. So the child is having dysgraphic issues. You can take her to an assessment for further analysis on what severity she is going through. You can fill the form and you can contact Shruti. I'll ask Shruti to post a number in the chat box so that you can contact her. She'll be helping you to guide through this. Can Shruti or Shamin please post a number in? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Like Shruti have posted the number. You can just contact her. So, okay. You're welcome. Are there any more questions? Okay, someone have raised the hand.
Yes, ma'am. I am a mother of three kids. My Alhamdulillah, my all three are very nice in studies. I just wanted one general question to ask about them, that how to teach them reading. What's the best style for a normal child? How should I read first, or what should I do?
If your child is okay, so if
Okay,
your
so if your
child
child
is
is
a little
a
bit
little
older, he or she can read and you can correct it if you are if she or he is making the mistake. So this will actually improve his vocabulary also. He'll be understanding new words and he'll be trying to pronounce it differently, right? So the thing is like you can always ask your child to read first and then you can repeat it if he want, or you can correct it if he makes a mistake. So this way both the learning happens. He gets to understand his mistakes. Like for example, if he is pronouncing the word apple wrong, he may pronounce it first so that you can correct it. It's not like that, it's pronounced like this. So a child may be able to understand that this is the way to be pronounced. So reading also happen, understanding the mistakes also happen.
Yes. So nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my son is 6 years old and he's very forgetful. What can I do? So, if it is forgetful, I think maybe the child is not interested in what he is learning. So, you can try different methods of teaching him, like maybe something which he like. If he is a visual learner, you can provide the videos of the subject. If he's weak in maths or if he's forgetting the mathematical concepts, you can show the videos of different fractions or how is it being done, so that the child gets a visual representation so that he can recall it later. My child is great with academics but distracted or talks in between, because of which the time taken is to complete long. Okay, so that is not because the child is having a learning difficulty. He can be a little bit of hyperactive. He gets distracted in between the study. So this is a sign of hyperactive. This is nothing related to learning difficulty. But if we are not taking it into a concern, or if you're not tracking the progress or not tracking the severity of this distraction, it may cause learning difficulty. You can also go through the assessment so that it may gives you a clear idea on which part or which level you should improve in your child. So if no more questions, shall we wind up the session?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Okay.
What is the best time when we can just ask the kids to sit and study? Usually, like my kids are in Montessori, so they don't have any homework as such. So they are self-learning, and by God's grace, like they are good at like reading books and everything. But thing is, like I just want them to be trained to like how the traditional method learning would be. because like they say they complete everything at the school and they don't want to sit and study anything at home. Is that okay for time being, or like I had to just like make them sit and study?
So I think Mariam will be apt for answering this question. Uh,
Hi, Shilpa.
Hi.
Okay, Shahnaz was the one who asked, right? Shahnaz, how old is your child?
He's 11.
He's 11. Okay, so is he learning all the subjects from school?
Yeah, he says like he learns everything from the school and he doesn't want to do anything.
So
What
is
I
there is
feel
no
is
other
like he's
subject
an
that you are
excuse.
teaching from?
I
Sorry?
feel that's an excuse, like he's just giving and he's not sitting and studying. I feel that.
Again, how is his marks?
He said like he's scored till now like they don't have any assessment as such, but like he said like out of 60 he scored around 45, which he felt like it was very less for him. But I feel it's okay, no problem.
Okay. And so there is no other new subject that you are teaching from home also, right? Everything is being
Yeah,
taught at school.
exactly.
Okay. Then maybe, since he's 11, you can bring in more interesting ways to teach in case you want him to learn more about a subject. You feel like, okay, he's lacking knowledge in some area, then you can bring in more activities or rather than asking to sit and study at home, which he doesn't want to, you can
Right.
bring in, some activities. Like Shilpa was saying, maybe if it is related to math, you can bring in some, if it's fractions, you can bring in pizza at home. And maybe while you cut that, you can bring in fractions there. Likewise, for each subject, you can think about what activities you can bring in and maybe invite him towards that, and that might work.
What
So
I
there is
feel
no
is
particular time like the children should learn in the evening, or here for my children, morning time works best. From say 6 o'clock to uh, that morning time, that works best, but that may not be the case with everyone.
right.
That you need to, try and figure out which one works best for your child.
Yeah. So there's no particular time as such like which we had to just make them sit and study, right?
Not exactly. It all depends on your child. Like if he's back from school and he's tired, then that is not a preferable time. But if he's,
Exactly.
if he went down to play and after that he's fresh and then he looks okay to learn, then that is a good time. So it depends from child to child.
Mm-hmm. And one more question, Mariam. What I felt was like now my kids are into Montessori.
Okay.
I was just like planning to shift them to traditional school. So is that a
Okay.
good idea, shifting them to traditional school now, or like continuing with the Montessori is going to help them till they complete the 10th? What do you suggest?
I don't have a suggestion in that. I'm sorry. Because that also it depends on parents, we may have different preferences in that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Anyways, whichever method you want your child to write their 10,
Mm-hmm.
please shift them to that particular syllabus or that particular method as soon as possible. Because 5th around 11th is a good time to, now they'll be starting all the lessons that they need for their 10th, right? In a year or
Right.
two. So this would be a good time to start learning that syllabus, that particular syllabus in which you want them to write their 10th.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair.
The budget back a lot. Anything else? Are you there, Shilpa? I can't see you.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Shilpa and Naveen, there are two
Any other question? Or shall we wind up?
One question, ma'am. My daughter is in 8th standard. She was a very good student till now, but now she's in 8th standard, and now the concepts are a little bit complicated now in maths and in science. So, and even Marathi. I'm from Maharashtra, so she's finding it very difficult. Until now she was very good, but
Okay,
after
until
this
7th,
after this COVID, the break came of 2 years, so she's finding it very difficult. Though I can teach her very nicely, but she's not listening to me. She's not interested in studying with me. What should I do?
okay. So that is a good question. Many of us, many of the parents face that and approach Kring for the same. So in such a case, what Kring does is we first help you build a good attachment with your child so that you get an influence over your child. And when you build that influence over your child, when you call them to study, they will be coming to study. That is the first thing, one thing that you need to address. That is build on the relationship with your child. And the second thing is, uh, if you feel like the gap has been for the past 2 years since COVID, then you can definitely take an assessment and see where the child stands according to her level. Okay, and if needed, you can give her remedial support as well. Because if she was okay till then and a slight gap was there during the COVID time, then that can be easily, if you attend in the proper way, as Shilpa said, if that type of attention can be given, that gap can be filled at this point. Okay, so it would be good if you can go for an assessment and see where the level of the child is.
Okay, okay. Yes,
And you
yes,
can
ma'am.
contact
Thank you.
Kring for both.
Okay, okay. I will need your help for the assessment.
Okay, okay, definitely. So these
Okay.
number is there in the chat box right there.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shruti, please put your number there. She has posted the number.
There are 2 more questions in the comment
Sorry,
box.
Shruti, are you saying anything?
Hello.
Is there anything else or shall we wind up?
There are 2 more questions in the comment box.
Shruti, your mic is on.
There are 2 more questions in the comment box, Maria.
There are 2 questions in the comment box. Okay. My son is 7 years old. He's well in studying math and science, but weak in language, Hindi, Malayalam, English, and B&D change. What can I do to improve his language? Fauzia, do message Shruti and take an assessment, because since language is an issue, we will be able to help you out in that. Shilpa, do you want to add on to that?
Like as you told, like we have to go through the assessment first, then only we can understand which, like what is he lacking or what is the level of his learning difficulty, so that we can help accordingly.
Yes. And since what you have mentioned, all the subjects that you have mentioned is mainly language, there can be an intervention that is needed. So please message in that number or fill that form. Niara is asking, how do I make my 6-year-old more independent in studying and completing the homework? Niara, for the answering this, I would like to know what kind of works are there for the child, since the child is just 6 years. Is he in first grade or in UKG? And if it is writing, that is, when it comes to homework, it is mainly writing, right? First, okay. If it is writing that is a struggle there, then you can go ahead and take the assessment and give the right kind of support. See, for different children, they'll take some time to strengthen their finger muscles and to have that writing in the speed that we want and in the beauty that we want them to write. That can take some time, but with the right kind of help, they will be able to do it. And in some cases, it may not be just writing that they need to learn. Maybe they need to work on their fine motor skills first before entering writing. So if any help is needed, we can rightly do the intervention.
What are the 5 motor skills, Mariam?
Shilpa, can you go ahead with that? Okay, fine motor skills. One thing, where fine motor skill comes into picture here is in holding the pencil. They need that capacity to hold the pencil like this, right? With the pencil, with the fingers. So we may feel that it is quite simple, but where we need to actually start is to help the child with free drawing by using thick crayons and all in the beginning. And also, writing on the wall is much simpler to the child rather than bringing them into the paper pencil way of writing. So once the fine motor skills are developed, then they'll be able to do this. So before that, before asking the child to write or expecting the child to write perfectly, we can build on improving their finger muscles well, so that they can hold the pencil and come into this writing posture.
You can help it by giving them any daily routines like holding the spoon properly, or giving him a spoon and asking him to mash something, like let it be a tomato or something, so that he has to hold the spoon tightly to smash it out, so that he get a hold or grip of the things he's been holding to. You can try making him move his hands on rough surfaces, so that he also understand the sensation, or he understand how it to be holding things properly.
He said there are a whole lot of activities that can be given to children to develop their fine motor skills and to better their writing. So if you need help, you can definitely contact Greg. My kids are football crazy and they say that I'm studying in race rights. Actually, education is not a good. Okay, Fahima. Fahima, you can introduce them to those people who have succeeded in their education and
I've told that, but they aren't, bothered. They are like, no, see, these people, they have not learned, they have not studied, and see, look
how
where
old are your kids?
and they are 11 and 9
11 and 9. Okay, so it's
into
not a
football.
late it's not a
No,
late try, but
they
still you
don't even
can
sit
bring in.
during the exam. That is what I don't compel them to sit otherwise, but at least during the exam, they can take their books and sit for once. But they get
Activists.
marks also. I don't know how. I mean, before they used to get very good marks, but now it has come down after COVID season. So they are, I guess, above average. They get the marks now, but they don't learn. They don't sit and study. And these are the examples they give.
Okay. So one factor that we parents, as parents, this can be quite frustrating. One thing that we need to understand is children won't say no to something that is interesting for them. See, whenever I feel like, okay, my child is losing interest in something, then I point finger at me and I ponder over what kind of learning I'm giving them. Okay, they never say no to something that is interesting. That is one point that we all need to keep in mind. So whenever you feel like the child, even now, when I think about my school days, see, history was something that I hated. But then recently, 2 years back, when I heard about a few historic incidents from a history teacher, I was like wonderstruck. Oh, was history such a beautiful thing? So sometimes it can be that you need to bring in more interesting activities and more interesting way of conveying it to the child according to the children's interest. And other things, it can be like, as Shilpa said, there can be some intervention that is needed to, a slight help that is needed to fill the gap. That can be the case. But in any of the cases, please see that you don't break the bond that you have with your child by forcing them again and again to sit and study. We need to find out other ways.
You can always go for dyslexia diagnosis by the age of 3, because that is time when you start recognizing letters, or you start your child start understanding different words, so that, or he may start pronouncing different words. So the apt of a, like, the minimum age for diagnosing dyslexia, actually it's not diagnosing, it's understanding. Diagnosis is a different term. So you can understand if your child is dyslexic by the age of 3 or above. For that also, you can take an assessment for an early understanding or an early identification if your child is having any dyslexia.
There is one more question, Shilpa, by Fasiba.
Okay.
My kids' age.
Sorry,
Okay.
what is Shruti say? I couldn't hear.
There is one more question in the comment box.
Yes, dyslexia condition can always be improved. The only thing is you need early identification for an early intervention. If your child, and also if if even if the child is about 5 or 10 also, dyslexia condition can always be improved. There is nothing wrong in have like the child finding a difficulty in reading. It's just the reading, and the child is not being affected by any other intellectual deficits or the intelligence level of the child. The only thing he needs a proper tongue twisting. He might need a help of a pathologist, he might need a help of a psychologist, and with constant help and guidance of a proper a mentor or a professional help, the child can obviously overcome the dyslexia condition. You need to have patience, and you need to have a proper working set condition, so that the parents and the child cooperatively work together to improve that.
Ma'am, one more question can I ask? Can I? Should I ask, teacher? Ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. So my child is 10 years old. What do he do whenever I let tell him to sit for studies? He starts yawning and yawning, and his eyes are so wetty with the tears because of the yawning. And so, मतलब इतना उसका yawning चलता है, ma'am, that I get so frustrated, as if I'm doing something very zulm type on him. So, am I doing right? What should I do?
He's just 10 years old. So the basic thing is that it's not because any other issues or any other learning difficulty. He's just lazy, or he's not interested in studying. So this is not something to worry much about. But the only thing you can do is you can always build a bond with your child, so that when you tell something, he is interested in doing that, or he loves to be with you, or he likes listening to you. So for that, you basically need a bond with your child. You can build a basic bond or a very strong bond with your child. Then you can start asking him over again, like can you just sit and study. So those lovable actions may find him or help him to sit study. He find it's interested, I think Mariam also can add a little points to this. Mariam, are you there?
I'm sorry, Shilpa, I didn't hear the question. I'm really sorry.
Okay, so the question was, the child is 10 years old, and whenever the mom is asking him to study, he starts yawning. His eyes feels like he starts showing tears from his eyes. So what can she do for that?
Okay. So then also we might need to know the reason behind that, right? Whether it is because of lack of bonding, as you said, I heard your answer exactly. Or is it because of that, or is it because of any other help that he need, because of any difficulty that he has? So we may need to have a small analysis on that. You can contact Shruti.
Mariam, there is another question in the chat box.
My kids hate sitting with books. He listens only if it's activity based and hands-on type, which can't be done always. How do I bring an attachment with books? He's almost 6 years, and he's also lazy in writing. Fasiha's question, we can wind up after this question. Yes. Fasiha, there are a few sub questions to this. One is bringing attachment with books, and also he's lazy in writing. See, all those parents who have 5 year, 6 year, 7 year olds who feel that they are not writing well, please understand that this will require some time. It is not as easy. Writing is not that easy for everyone uniquely, because some children they can write very easily, but it is okay. They need some support in that, like support in the sense to have someone to tell them exactly how to do, and also complement them with hands-on, fine motor skill activities. When a support is given to help them write in a manner, see, when we say an intervention is needed or someone should help them bridge that gap, what we mean is we'll be able to support them with someone who knows how to support them. What we parents know is we just tell them again and again to write neatly. Why can't you hold the pencil properly? That is the only way that we know. Okay, but a person who can assist them in learning, they know exactly what to tell, and how to instruct. That is where Kring is supporting children and also parents to give this app support to the children. So with writing, you needn't worry, but you can definitely give the support. And if you need, you can message Shruti or fill the form. And with reading and attaching to books, see, this is a very young age. Please remember what I said before. They won't go away or say no to something that is interesting for them. So as you have rightly identified, he may be more interested in hands-on activities, but still that cannot be provided every time, as you said. But with books, you can make it as interesting as possible. Since he's only 6, first thing that you can start with is, take some interesting story and read it to him in a most expressive way that you can. Okay, and get his attention. Continue that for some time. Just for 3-4 minutes a day is enough. Small, short, but sweet. Have such sessions and attach him. Try to attach him to the books, and this is where you can start with. Okay, nice, Fasina. Thank you.
So
So,
shall we wind up the session?
yes, yes.
Okay.
It was a
Just
1 hour
one
session.
small point. Sorry to interrupt. I just would like to thank Krink because I thought of sharing my experience with Krink after 3 months of mentoring. My son has started to read slowly. He had, some of the above issues of writing and reading, and I did consult with a local psychologist, but rather than improvement of just motor skills, I was not able to make him sit with me. But now he has started listening to me after I started on with personal mentoring with Krink. So thank you, Mariam. I just thought of mentioning it here. And my son is now sitting with me, and I used to allow him to do some of the work which he likes to do, and I used to tell him I'll be very happy if he sits with me and he learns and he gets good marks in the dictation. And also for my happiness and for my my smile, he does things for me. So those kind of a bond has been improved a lot since the last 2 months. So thank you Krink, a lot.
Thank you, Sonia, for sharing that. It really made our day, I guess, for everyone here.
I also want to share this thing. I also got a personal call from you when I voted. Someone, Kanis Fatima, was there on the call, and I was very glad, and her tips were so much helpful when I discussed about my daughter with her. She really helped me changing in my thinking process. She made me realize that the problem was in me rather than her, and I was going to fix her, but she made me realize that I have to fix myself first. So that was very, very good tip for me, and she helped me very much. And you all are doing a great job, and may Allah bless you more and more for this. Jazakallah khairan.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Your good name, please.
My name Farkhanda Sayed.
Sorry.
Farkhanda Sayed.
Okay. Thanks a lot, both of you, for sharing this. It gives a lot of meaning to what effort that we are putting in behind this. And as Soliha said, yes, once that bond and attachment is established, then a lot of things get settled. You'll have a lot more influence over your child, and that is when you can move on to the next step of guiding them in academics or having an influence over their character and building values and all. Thanks a lot for sharing that. So I guess we can wind up, right, Shilpa? Thank you all
Yes, yes.
for being here for this 1 hour, and I hope the session benefited you. You can post your comments in the group and say how this was helpful and what you feel about the session. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and do always feel free to contact Ring for any of your help. We also are looking forward to work with you all, help you all out. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.